Hey there! Welcome back to Reddit Dating, best channel for cheating stories. Make sure to like and subscribe the channel for more spicy stories. I, 32 male, found out at Thanksgiving my wife, 31 female, has been having an affair with a co-worker for several months. Setting the scene, my wife and I had a long rough patch during COVID. Distance, emotional disconnect, dead bedroom, the works. I work IT in a hospital, and it was my turn to cover on call for the holidays. As we pull into my uncle's house for the holidays, a call comes in, so I take it while the family goes inside. I was using my laptop and wife's phone as a hotspot. I use an Android and never really used the iPhones since the home button was removed. She gets a notification from Snapchat. I swipe at it to remove, and it opens up instead. I saw a message from a username Nerd, and it has a kissy face emoji in it. Little did I know opening that message was going to lead to several saved messages from a coworker dating all the way to the beginning of this year. I don't use Snapchat, but apparently if you don't save a message, it deletes with time. So, the conversations, very choppy, but include several inappropriate texts of essentially 20 questions the addition. I skim through, my stomach sinks. I wrap up my work and try to calmly go in to tell her we need to leave, saying I've been called into work. My wife, knowing me fairly well, I'd say these last 6 says, knew it was something else. I got to the car, 4 old in the back, and tried my best, unsuccessfully, to remain calm until getting home. I go through the messages more thoroughly with her and see her sending out address to him. Surrounded by comments of "it's not a date if you make me follow the 6FT rule. He won't be home," etc. She said he came over. She felt extremely guilty. They made awkward small talk, and she asked him to leave. This happens in April, nearly 4 months of who knows how much texting, since most of it wasn't saved. The messages become much less frequent after that, only a couple a month, until August, where they stop. I snap. I call Nerd. Confront him about what's been going on with my wife the last several months. He says nothing happened. She says nothing happened. All I have is several months of flirting, a picture she sent of her in a bra, and the scheduled country date at our house. So here I stand, feeling disgusting, unworthy, second place, betrayed, and most importantly, she's lied before. Going to bars saying she had to work late. Inappropriate texts that she wouldn't reciprocate, but also didn't shut down. Partners that were close friends she hid from me. I know our marriage was on the rocks. I admit my contribution to that. I stopped being romantic. I kept our conversations short. We were drifting. I don't blame her for wanting to stray. But we've been going to counseling these last few months, and I thought things were going well. I've been trying again, and so has she. I just can't shake the feeling of something physical happening, despite both of them claiming otherwise. How would I be to believe that, right? I've seen the worst side of myself these last 24 HRS. She claimed it was 60% an emotional connection with him and 40% physical attraction. Since I let myself go, I'm 5'7", 150 pounds, and a realistic 6/10. This guy is in shape, taller than me, and only 25. She's obviously distraught, has mostly taken my verbal lashings with grace, and wants to try to make this work. Here's where your advice comes in. Reddit, how do I ever trust her again? How do I break up our family and lose at least half of the next 14 as of my daughter's childhood? I'm scared of who she'll bring around her. I don't want to lose my baby or fear for her well-being. How do I get past the not knowing what really happened? The affair all ended 4 months ago, of her doing. But I don't know if I'll ever be able to forgive her, not to mention recover any shred of self-esteem or dignity. If only for a time, I was second best. Update. First off, I never expected such a profound response from the community and the several direct messages and advice I've received, so thank you all. It's helped through what has been the worst 48 HRS of my life. So, since yesterday, I've sat with my wife and went through the details of the entire affair, the reasons she cheated, and where we go from here. After this long conversation, I contacted the affair directly. I know this was an extreme roll of the dice, but I knew him in passing and his personality. He was remorseful, gave me the information I requested, and it matched the smallest details that my wife had given me. What could have been grease to the fire ended up being a small reprieve. Most will call me I get it, but I don't think there was a physical affair between them. She found attention and confidence she apparently was not getting from me. Well, this reprieve was short-lived by the conversation that followed with my wife. We spent several hours discussing her personal issues that resulted in her straying, and I finally convinced her that honesty is the only way forward from this. So, she admitted, as is the case with most cheaters, that this wasn't the first affair. 2 months prior to her relationship with Nerd, she had the same encounter with another coworker. Only, instead of nice guy, nerdy, sweetheart, this guy was the alpha take what he wants, balls busting with confidence type. The messages with him were much more graphic in nature, basically describing in great detail all the things he wants to do to her. She reciprocated, but claimed the only thing that ever came of it was a drunk kiss in the parking lot. Yeah, I know, and here's where I'm reaching out for more advice. For the first time in our marriage, she told me a hard truth that I didn't find out on my own. She's expressed willingness to go to counseling, polygraph tests, admission of her own wrongdoing, and hates the person she is. Yes, I know, all typical a cheater feeds. But I have an illness too. I want to help her, as the mother of my daughter, whether I stay or go. I find it so hard to leave her at her lowest when she wants to change. How do I erase the what if? What if she finally became the person I fell in love with and always thought she was? Address the things that ruined us and lead us here. Of course, she could just be feeding me what I want to hear and go back to cheating. But is it really so impossible for people to change and grow from such disgusting behavior? Update 1. Back on Thanksgiving, I found out my STBXW had 2 mostly emotional affairs over several months. Without getting much into my own story, I find myself struggling with a moral dilemma on which I would appreciate some feedback. My STBXW's best friend, we'll call her B, was recently married to her BF of probably 7-8 as. B has always been good to my STBXW and even me, but shares her disease. About 3-4 ago, they took a break that lasted 1, maybe 2 days. During that time, she slept with a high school crush, then went back to dating as if nothing happened. From her conversations with my STBXW, I know she justifies it because they weren't technically together. I try to stay out of people's business. I always thought she was a person for what she did, but now I feel an obligation to tell her husband. I wish someone would have told me. My STBXW's entire workplace knew of her affair. They watched me pick up my daughter there each day, knowing what my wife was doing. It sickens me thinking no one told me for nearly a year. I don't blame them. I'm facing the same moral dilemma. Is this my place to ruin a marriage? Is she justified by technically taking a break for a day or two? Or do I sit and watch this man live a lie? He's far from a close friend, but he's a good guy, and we shared dinner with them on more than one occasion. It doesn't seem right, but neither does ruining his ignorance his bliss, like he has. Update 2. It's been a long month, with the holidays and our 6th anniversary. This lasts several weeks. I've had many more bad days than good, but enough time had passed where I had noticed growth in at least some areas. Well, as if my D-Day being Thanksgiving wasn't enough to ruin the holidays, my wife confessed on New Year's night to a third affair. Only this time, she admitted to having with this one, something she still denies of the other 2. So after a month of disgusting images, self-esteem issues, and the weight of rebuilding a life for which I had no plan B, I now feel back to square one with my worst fears confirmed. I chose the title of this post because it was a quote that another Redditor sent me shortly after D-Day. I didn't follow its advice and now I pay the full price. Yes, I was attempting to focus on my own growth this last month, but I could not walk away. I moved out, but spent multiple nights a week with her, setting expectations and boundaries for this separation. She was going to therapy to understand why she made these decisions, and I was going to recover from the trauma of the event. I decided if there was any hope for our marriage, it was when we both came out the other side better people. Well, she finally addressed many of her issues in therapy and found the strength to tell me the truth. Here's the problem. I wasn't ready to hear it. I begged to hear it. I pried and dealt with the Trickle truths for weeks, but I wasn't ready. I'm broken. The images of things that used to kill me seem so insignificant now. All the growth I made erased in mere seconds. The funny thing, when she told me, she cried hysterically, and I consoled her for hours. I shed not a single tear until today, where I lost it completely. It was then I realized how little I was focusing on myself this full time and how much of my own growth I sacrificed to be here for her. I emotionally invested in her again. I didn't speak it, but I was praying for that ending where I forgave her, she changed, and we made it work. I don't know if I have the strength for that anymore, but I'm proud of her. proud she's growing and did something for the first time in 6 as that I've known her, to be honest with a difficult truth. It's not something I hear much from this community, but nearly half the pain I experience is the front row seat to her ruining her own life. Of course the grudge is there, but I love her. That didn't stop. Her mother is dead. Her father moved out of state last month. She has one close friend, who happens to be my cousin, and her only sibling died when she was 11. My family welcomed her with open arms and are devastated by her choices. Shocked my quiet, dainty, shy wife was capable of such atrocities. As shocked as I, but she's the mother of our child and I need her to be okay. So I'd asked my family to give her a place to stay in their spare bedroom, which they had these last couple weeks, while she figured out a living situation. I know I don't owe her anything, but the anger and spite has all but left these last couple weeks. I know I owe it to myself to be happy, but I can't walk away. Her remorse is real. Her self-hatred is real. How do you watch someone you love ruin their own life? But here's where I need your advice. How do I find the strength to grow on my own? I'm walking all the steps, but I find no solace in things that once gave me joy. I can't play a video game more than 10 minutes. I force myself to social events, only to find myself feeling simultaneously overwhelmed and bored of trivial conversation I once found enjoyable. I'm unable to focus on movies, my mind wanders to painful images. I work out a few days a week, but hate it. I can't even. I worked so hard to get the few inches I gained from D-Day and now I'm back where I started. With more painful images than ever before and months' worth of exhaustion to boot. The worst part? I'm slowly accepting what I never could before. I'm not going to get my happy little family back. That hope I had for reconciliation is fading. That surviving this means focusing what little strengths left on myself. I was here for her, but she was an outlet for me too. She was a punching bag for the anger, a shoulder for the tears. She reinforced my insecurities and self-esteem. Now looking her in the face hurts more than the help she provides. For the first time in this, I truly feel alone. Update 3. First off, I want to thank you all for the support this last month. It's been a wild ride of trickle truthing, heartache, individual therapy, and rediscovering myself. This last week the person she admitted to sleeping with once, while high, has now turned in a several-month affair with multiple encounters. This was the last truth my heart could handle. While living separated, but occasionally staying over, I had been trying to be here for her while she was going to therapy, while also trying to heal from this trauma myself. Like a moth to the flame, I was drawn to the change I was seeing only to be burnt by more hard truths from that change. I'm proud of her growth in being an honest person, and I had the strength to provide a safe place for these truths and retain my composure. But it's too much for me to bear anymore. I've decided a limited contact, while amicable approach would be best until the divorce is finalized. I'm drawing up paperwork this week, and she's willing to sign whatever I see fit. She's a terrible, disgusting person for what she's done, but she has run this gauntlet with stride and we don't fight anymore. I'm devastated but mostly stable, and would like this separation to not be an added weight of a legal battle if unnecessary. I love the person I see now, the partner she never was, and an effort to be a better person. I just know I can't forgive or trust her. Her crimes were too great. I wish her happiness and true change on this journey, if only for our daughter, but will not sacrifice my own anymore. To top it off, after a month of therapy, my psychologist now believes I show symptoms of high-functioning adult ASD or Asperger's. While missing most of the social disorders that come from the condition, I do have several checkboxes marked. This came as a shock to me, but explains quite a bit about why I've made so many of my decisions in this separation. The obsession with the unknown, in this case lying, and need to fix her, hypersensitivity to the feelings of others at the expense of my well-being, inability to maintain eye contact, and repetitive/redundant behavior due to the feeling of never being understood, and mild OCD tics I always assumed everyone had at least a few of, etc. I felt so strongly I needed to give 100% before I could walk away, no matter what she's done. At this point, I just want to move forward and finally grow from this. I recognize I have nothing left to give and I'm scared to take these first few steps. I can't stop picturing the revolting images I begged a month to hear. I have little desire and interests I once enjoyed. I want to date, but feel OLD is going to be full of disappointment, based off the subreddits on the subject. I'm journaling, reading, more distracting than video games or TV has been, going back to meditation, and just trying to love myself again. Having a hard time finding motivation for those things, though. Do you all have any tips for someone starting this journey of a separation? For the first time, my mind and heart are in it, and most of the doubt is removed. It took a month of self-destructive decisions to get here, but I don't want to slip. Give me your best. I promise to pay it forward.